The very last step on your hat is some top stitching. Top stitching is similar to edge stitching. This is edge stitching that you've done right on the edge. Edge stitching needs to be 1/8 of an inch or less from the edge, and top stitching is just anything on top, okay? So the reason we're doing some circles of top stitching is to hold the brims together so that it can't come apart like this, okay? We want our hat to be kind of secure. So we need to decide how many rows you want to do and how far apart they're going to be, okay? This is where you're going to get out your seam gauge. You're going to go to the brim of your hat. I'm measuring mine, and if you've done everything the same as mine, and my pattern was a tiny bit different because I printed it out weird, yours will be around 3 inches, okay? I think that my lines will look good 1/2 inch apart. So here's what I'm going to do. I have this edge lined up, right up against the crown of this. Then I'm going to take a special pen. It's called a friction pen or Frixion, however you want to say it. This comes out with heat. So I'm lined this up. This is the purpose of a seam gauge, to repeat measurements, right? I'm going to make little dots at every 1/2 inch spot, okay? And then this is my edge stitching, so it's actually perfect. So I don't need to mark a dot there. So now you can see I have 5 dots. I'm going to go around my whole brim and mark a dot every 1/2 inch in a few places so that I have something to aim for when I'm sewing. So I'll do that. You can watch along because I'll speed it up. Okay, this is my last set of dots. I will have friction pens available for you all to use if you would like. So now you can see I have rows of dots all over my hat. That's going to help me line up my top stitching. Okay, I'm back again because I just sewed my first line of top stitching and my dots were too far apart. It was really hard to go from dot to dot. So I'm going to show you how I don't want to connect my dots, okay? So I'm going to go in between 2 dots I have. I'm going to make myself more. I have a dot every 1/2 inch. Oh yeah, and I didn't quite nail that one, but now I can see that my dots are closer together. That way, now they're probably close enough that I could sew just using the dots, but I'm even going to now lightly connect these, okay? So that way, I have something to follow when I'm sewing. It'll be so much easier if I can just sew on lines instead of from dot to dot. Okay, so I'm going to connect the rest of these dots. You guys can watch how I do it in fast motion. Okay, now I have all my lines drawn. Please notice these lines are not perfect, okay? But they are going to give me a guideline as to where to go. So don't worry if your lines aren't perfect. See? Like that kind of thing. And don't worry, as long as you're using a Frixion pen, then after we've sewn on these lines, we can take an iron and it'll get all of these markings out. So don't stress about that. Here's one tip you can do before you start sewing the brim of your hat. Push the inside hat up as far as you can and then pin it along the outside. So I'm running my hand along there, pushing that up, then give it a pin. So that way when you're sewing, this inside doesn't slide down and make tucks, okay? So slide that up and put a couple pins as you go, okay? Slide it up, put a pin in. Now you're really ready.